Okay, great. Here we go. Welcome to Designing with Docs, Slides, and Sheets. We're going to start with a warm opener before I even really introduce myself. So I have a moderator today, Allison. She's been putting stuff in the chat. She's going to put the link in the chat for our warm opener. If you're in the deck, you'll also find it on slide 2. I'm just really curious what you do in the district, and then also out of the 3 tools I'm talking about today, which one is your favorite and which one is your least favorite? So go ahead and take a moment and we'll fill that out. Allison's going to put it in the chat. She's putting my links in the chat for me, so keep an eye on the chat. Okay, so we got some responses coming in. We've got a TSA, hello, hello. We got a teacher, and we're pretty evenly split. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my instructions here. So warm opener, the form is in the chat. Allison's gonna keep just putting it in the chat over and over and over again. Hello, everyone, it's nice to see you. Okay, so there's a warm opener link in the chat. So go ahead and click that and fill out my form. It's got cats in party hats because I feel like cats should always wear party hats. I love cats. So you're filling out that warm opener form. The link is in the chat. Go ahead and find your chat, open it up, and that's where you'll find the link for the warm opener. We've got 38 people who have filled out the form. Thank you, thank you. "42 people. We've got some people that help teachers. We have people who work with children. We've got some early ed, PK, TK, OST, high school level math, science, 9th grade biology, speech therapist, kindergarten. I inspire and engage. I love that answer. Your role in the district is I inspire and I engage. That's great. Serve as a role model for students, help students learn, academic support for grades 3 through 5. I teach 1st grade, special education, lots and lots of different people in this room. I love it. Let's see, who else is in here? Little creators, teach little creators. I make friendships and bonds. That's wonderful. I love it. Supporting staff and schools with operational issues. Lots of people here in this space. That's awesome. We have SLPs, we have teachers, we have paraeducators, we have clerks. We're a wide range group today. Bilingual classroom teachers. I'm so glad to see you all. Okay, I've got 87 responses and there are 192 of you. So go ahead and keep putting your answers in that slide deck. Or sorry, I'm sorry, not the slide deck. In the form, the warm opener form. Allison keeps putting it in the chat. So go ahead and stick it. Go ahead and click on that link and fill out the form real quick just to say hi and tell me a little bit about you. Okay. I've still got people filling it out. You're doing great. Keep filling it out if you are filling it out. I'm going to show you some of the results so far, the results that we have so far. So I asked you what your favorite tool was. And I love to ask this question because you get a pretty wide array of answers. And it looks like here that on average, more than half of us, Slides is our favorite tool out of those 3, with Docs coming in second and Sheets coming in third. I find that Sheets often comes in third when it comes to your favorite tool out of the 3. But I am wondering if I might change that for a few of you today, that maybe Sheets will be maybe at least your second favorite. Scrolling down here, I see that we have, as far as our least favorite tool goes, that is Google Sheets. And I think that comes from not maybe fully understanding what you can do in Google Sheets. It kind of seems like maybe it's just for numbers or data, but the good news is it's for a lot of things. So I'm hoping to change some minds about Sheets today. I think that I think you'll find that it's more useful than you might you might have previously thought. But we do have some people that where slides is their very least favorite. I don't know out of the three, which one's my least favorite. Maybe slides would be my least favorite because I do really love sheets and I love docs, but slides, maybe it depends on the day. Maybe it depends on the day. And then I want to scroll down. My last question I asked you all was about your experience and comfort level with Google Tools. And the reason why I asked that is because this is not designed to be a beginner session. So I'm not going to necessarily talk about all the basics of these tools. I'm going to assume you know a little bit already. But if you are a beginner, if you're down here in the 1, 2, 3 section, that's okay. You can stay. You don't have to leave. You can stay. As long as you've got a can-do attitude, I know you'll pick up stuff today, and I know that you'll feel more confident. This session is definitely geared more towards my 4s and 5s and 6s, and for my 7s in the room. I'm so glad you're here. So if you're a little bit lower on this scale, that's okay. Please, you are welcome to stay. Don't feel like you have to leave. You will get something. So I'm really glad to see that we've got such a wide array of people here. All right, I'm going to move on here and introduce myself. My name is Jessica Peterson. I am a digital learning integration designer. And if you've heard me present before, I usually joke that that's all the buzzwords in one title. I work on the digital learning team, and I specialize in Google Tools. So if you have a question about Google Tools, if you ever submitted a help desk ticket about Google Tools, good chances you've heard back from me. I have a colleague today, Allison, who is helping me out. Allison, do you want to unmute and introduce yourself?
Hey, everybody. Good to see you. Well, not to see you, but to know that you're there, out there, all 200 and something of you. I'm going to keep putting the slide deck link into the chat. Feel free to add questions. I'm doing my best to keep up, and also problem solving on a few other sessions that are happening on the side too.
Allison's a busy lady. She's in high demand. But I'm so glad that Allison is here. And that kind of, I guess my norms are in a bit. I'll do my norms in a second. But that reminds us, since you talked about links, if you have not yet signed in for today, please sign in. If you already signed in, you don't have to do this. You only have to sign in 1 time per day. So if you've already signed in, awesome, you're good to go. No need to sign in again. Allison is putting the link to the deck and the link to the sign in if you need it in the chat. So if you have not signed in, please do. If you've already signed in, you're good. You can check that one off. You don't have to do that. All right, this is our agenda for today. We did some opening moves. Interesting. We did some opening moves. I'm going to talk about some considerations while designing, some things to think about accessibility wise. What makes for good design? What are some kind of like things to keep in mind when you're designing stuff? And I've got resources to help out with all of that. And then we'll jump into docs, and I'm going to give you some when to use docs, why to use docs, like what it's really good for. I've got some tips and tricks. You're going to have 10 minutes, which I know is so short. We're going to have 10 minutes to work. I'll give you a 5-minute stretch break because this is a long haul. And then we'll move into sheets, and we'll kind of have that same cycle. When and why to use sheets. I've got some tips and tricks about Google Sheets. I'll give you 10 minutes work time. You get a 5-minute stretch break. And then we round down to home base, and we've got slides. And again, when and why to use slides, tips and tricks, and then you'll have 10 minutes of work time. There's no 5-minute stretch break after that one though. So we'll just move into closing moves and head out. But that's the general plan for today, is you're going to learn some stuff and then have a chance to play around yourself. This is a bit of a playground session today. Okay. These are our norms for today. We are in a webinar style format. This meeting is a webinar, which means that I can't see any of you. I'm so glad you're all here. We're up to 228 people. I'm so glad that you're all here. I can't see you, but hello. As questions or things come up, feel free to type those into the chat. That's Allison's job today. She's really good at it. She knows pretty much as I do about Google Tools. So she's going to be able to answer all of your questions. If you stump her, she'll interrupt me and ask me the question. I can also answer questions during work time. So if you have questions, put them in the chat and we will get them answered for you. We are going to leave the Q&A part though alone. So maybe in the keynote, you use the Q&A to ask a question. We're not going to use Q&A here today. You can ignore it. We're just going to stick with the chat. That way everybody can see everybody's questions. I'm going to ask today that you please stay, well, I guess actually you can't unmute. So that norm is really easy because we're in a webinar. You'll stay muted the whole time. And then my third norm, which is my very favorite norm, I always include it in my decks, and that is to take what you can today and come back for more later. We are going to cover 3 tools in like an hour and a half. That is crazy. That's so much stuff to talk about. You're going to leave today not knowing everything I talked about, and that's okay. It's okay to not get everything today. If you were in this, I actually did this same session last year. And so if you were here last year, you might have picked up a few things. Maybe you're back this year to pick up a few more. You can always come back to this deck. You can always ask questions and a help desk ticket, and I'll respond. There's lots of ways to get support later if your brain gets filled up today. So don't feel like you have to learn every single thing that I talk about today. If you don't remember every single tool or tip, that's okay. Come back to the deck later. Ask questions later. There's lots and lots of time and space to learn this later. Have grace with yourself. Okay. I wanted to talk a little bit about equity because I wanted to be really conscious about like why design is important. A lot of times, I know that a lot of times as teachers, we tend to prioritize like content over what it looks like. And for learning, sometimes that makes sense. You know, I want the student to write their paragraph or to make their slide deck before they play with colors and fonts and pictures and that kind of stuff, right? Sometimes that makes sense. But when it comes to designing documents for other people to read, things that you're going to publish out there for families, things for your students to use, things for maybe the staff at your school site, for teachers or other people you partner with, if you provide professional development, design is actually really important for equity. The way you design a document has a wide impact on how readable and understandable it is to people, how digestible it is to people who read it and work with it. I think of, there are really important documents in this world, like the Mueller report or, the Panama Papers, or things that like had information that people were willing to dive through a very dry, very difficultly formatted document to find the information. But that's not always the case, right? There's a lot of things that, if it doesn't pop out to you right away, you're like, meh, I'll look at it later, right? So when you design your things, you want to think about the people in mind, and design really does matter for equity, to really make sure that information is accessible to the group, for all the people in the group, no matter where they're coming from. I think it's something like 70%. I don't know where that data is from. I apologize, I can't cite my source, but it's something like 70% of people have trouble with reading, at some sort of difficulty with reading, not necessarily like a like a debilitating one, but some sort of difficulty or struggle with reading in some way. Like 70% of people, it's a lot. So the more you can design your things using really good design principles and design it really purposefully, the more equitable your resource and information is going to be. So design has has one main goal, and the one main goal of design is to minimize the cognitive load on the user. If they are spending any energy trying to figure out where the information is, that is wasted energy, right? I know we've all had that experience before where we've been like, oh, the instructions are somewhere in this 70-page document. Or I think of like an instruction manual that comes with a car, like you're flipping through and you're like, I don't know what this light means. How do I find what this light means? I just want to know what this light means, right? So the whole goal of well-designed things is to minimize that cognitive load, that energy that they're wasting on trying to navigate it. We want that energy spent on the information or on the task within the document or file. And so you can do that. There's a few main principles to think about. And that involves consistency, making sure that you're using the same colors and fonts all the way through. That consistency really minimizes cognitive load because we get used to patterns. Our brain is very good at patterns. And so seeing that pattern kind of puts the brain at ease. And then making it intuitive, the way that you structure it and the way that you organize it, the more that you can make it so that it doesn't take any extra effort. I don't have to try and search hard, that it's really easy and intuitive to go through. Those things both make your whatever you're designing much more accessible for people. So speaking of consistency, here are some tips on how to have really consistent design. You want to stick with 2 fonts. That's usually one for titles and one for text. The titles one is often bigger, so it can be more creative. It can be silly, scripty, cartoony, handwriting-y, whatever. Your titles one can be a little bit more creative and fun. And then one for text. And the text should be easy to read. It shouldn't be a loopy, scripty thing that's really hard to read. The text one should be easy to read. Some examples, in SFUSD, our official district fonts are Montserrat, which is our titles, and Leto, which is our text. DOT does it a little bit differently. We use Montserrat for titles and Proxima Nova for text. So you can actually see that here. My 2 titles on this slide are in Montserrat, and then all of my text is in Proxima Nova. So no more than 2 fonts. You don't want the font changing every other page or anything like that. You also want to choose a consistent color palette. A color palette is typically 4 to 7 colors, just as a rule of thumb. There are times when you'll need more. There are times when you might, make do with less, but you want to choose one color palette to use the whole way through. That includes one base color plus white. So in SFUSD, our base color is that navy blue color, and then we also use white. And then 2 or more colors as accents. So in SFUSD, you see the orange and the light blue. Those are our accent colors. When you're doing colors in Google Tools, Google uses hex codes. And so if you have your colors come in different type of, what's the wording, like nomenclature, hex codes start with the hashtag or the pound sign in front, and they're usually 6 digits long. That's the hex part of hex code. You might see RGB, which is red, green, blue, with numbers. There are sites you can convert it over to a hex code, but if you're looking for colors online, look for the hex code. Copy the hex code to put into Google stuff. And then you want to use a consistent formatting and layout or structure. So again, that reducing that cognitive load that our brain gets used to a pattern. You can see I did this here, that my big bullets here are orange. That's that nice pattern. I can see, at a glance, those are the 3 big pieces. And I've got more information underneath that's a little smaller, but it's following the same pattern underneath every time. So that repeated formatting gets our brain used to the pattern. And then you want to be really strategic with your color and your white space. So white space is good. It's good to have some white space around things. You don't want to fill up an entire space. You'll see like my text doesn't go all the way to the edges. You want to have some white space. That's good. And then you just want to think about like, how can I use color to draw attention to the important things that if someone is skimming, if someone skims this slide, they're going to pick out those 3 things, right? So you want to use color really strategically. I've got some resources though to help you out with each of these things. When we're talking about fonts, you can find tons of fonts on Google Fonts. Google has its own library of fonts, and it is massive, and more get added every single day. Those fonts are free. There's never really any need to pay for a font unless you're if you're a teacher that teaches graphic design, and it's, maybe that's different, but for the average user, for me, and I'm assuming most of us in this room, a free font is totally great. You do not need to pay for a font, but you can find pairings. So if you find a font you like on Google Fonts, they have a pairings section within that font, and you can see other fonts that go well with it. So you don't have to, it kind of takes that guesswork out of it for you. And then one of my very favorite fonts is Lexend Deca. It was designed by scientists for readability. It's meant to help with dyslexia and all sorts of things. It's specifically designed, it's a font designed for readability. It's already a Google font. You can use it in all Google tools. I've got a link here if you're curious more about how Lexend was developed and why it was designed the way it was. But I love Lexend Deca for lots of things because it's designed for readability. Some resources for color palettes. I just honestly do an image search for color palettes, and I usually include hex codes in it, so it gives me the hex codes in the color palette. But when you do that in the image search, you'll just see lots of color palettes. You can pick one that you like. This is a palette generator, so Coolors. It's like colors but cooler. Coolors with is a palette generator, and you can just generate random palettes as you like. I've also been really finding useful lately this tint and shade generator. And that allows me, like, especially with like SFUSD, we have 4 main colors, but sometimes I need a 5th one because I need to be able to highlight something else. And so I'll use like a tint or shade generator to make something, maybe make the light blue darker, so I have like a medium blue. So the tint and shade generator is kind of nice because you can find essentially related colors to the color you've already chosen. And then Color Blender is also great. You can find a color that's between 2 colors. So it's kind of a mix of the 2 colors, and that can kind of feel very like it all kind of fits together. So those are some resources for color palettes. And then we use a lot of images and icons. That's a great way to reduce that cognitive load at times. I think of like teachers who might put, like an eyeball next to a video, like a picture of an eyeball next to a video so that kids know they have to watch it, like kind of cluing kids in sometimes in a written way, or cluing readers or users in a non-written way can be really useful, especially if language might be a barrier or something like that. And so when you're using images or icons, you do have to respect copyright and attribution requirements. So make sure you're always giving credit for images. That's really great to model for kids, to give credit from where you got your image from. And you just want to make sure that it's, that's something you're allowed to use. My favorite resources for copyright free, meaning there's no copyright restrictions, are these three. I use Unsplash a lot for just really nice, beautiful images. Unsplash usually requires attribution, that you give the photographer, the artist, credit, but they give you the text to put in. It's really easy. So I love Unsplash. onlygfx.com is really great for getting border things, backgrounds. They do like watercolor banners. Like, it's nice for like backgroundy, designy kind of stuff. And I have an example later that uses stuff from there. I'll show you what I mean. And then Material Icons it's like Google Fonts, but it's icons. And so it's got tons and tons of icons, no copyright, no attribution needed. You can usually change the color and all sorts of stuff with them. It's a really great icon library. So those are my favorite resources for pictures and images and icons. Okay. I want to touch briefly on accessibility, specifically around people who have visual impairments, hearing impairments, other things like that, that might impede their ability to process a page. When you're designing a page or a document or a file that's accessible, and you have hyperlinks, you have links inside of it, you want to turn those into what's called a meaningful link. And in a lot of times you'll see like, click here is the link, but the text click here by itself doesn't tell us anything. And we as humans tend to skim a page for links. We just look at the link text to try to find what we're looking for. Screen readers, also, one of the things that they can do is they can just read off all the links on a page. So this click here, the screen reader just says, click here, click here, click here, click here. That doesn't tell the person where that link goes. So a meaningful link tells the person where it's going. So you can see I've got an example here, learn more about Vision 2025. And if you click on that link, it's going to take you to information about Vision 2025. So as you're visually skimming, you'll be like, oh, that's information about Vision 2025. Headings are also really important for accessibility. It creates that visible structure that we were talking about. That pattern is really good. And screen readers oftentimes use headings to navigate. So sometimes we make headings by just bolding something, and that makes a heading, or we make the font bigger and call that a heading. But there's actually ways, especially like in Google Docs, to designate it as a heading, or as a, heading number 3 that it's, nested in. So headings are really important. And screen readers, again, also use headings to navigate. And then contrasting colors are really important. If you've ever worked with young students, like I'm thinking like middle elementary type age, they tend to love to use like bright pink and bright yellow on the same thing. And you're like, I can't read that, right? So it's that we need more contrast to make things more visible sometimes. So for example, white on dark blue is really has a really good contrast. And you can use this contrast checker to kind of see how readable yours is. It gives ratings. A double A rating is good. A triple A rating is better. All right. I've got some links here. I'm not going to go through all of these, but these kind of go into, if like headings really pique your interest, feel free to check out this link here on slide 12. I've got information about meaningful links. We didn't really talk about alternative text, but that's important sometimes, especially on the web for images. So these are some things you can check out later. When you have that 10 minutes of work time, if you want to come back and poke around with these, you're welcome to. Okay, Google Docs. Here we go. Like I said, we're going to talk about some strengths of Docs. I've got some examples. I'll give you strategies and tips, and you'll have 10 minutes to practice and explore. So the strengths of Docs. Google Docs is a word processing tool similar to Microsoft Word. You might be familiar with Microsoft Word. Google Docs is really great for text because that's what it's meant for. It's designed for writing letters, papers, essays, things like that. It's meant for writing. It's also really easy to print from Google Docs. It's generally the default is the size of a page. It's really, really easy to print from Google Docs. So if you're going to have something be printed, Google Docs is usually a good idea. The scrolling is pretty easy between Google Docs. The overflow automatically moves on to the next page. We don't see that like in slides. Like if you have too much stuff for the slide, it just hangs off the bottom. In Google Docs, it nicely goes on to the next page. And you can link to headings in the same doc. There's like a built-in table of contents feature. And if you're marking something as a heading, I saw someone ask, like, what's the benefit of using heading formatting? In Google Docs, if you mark something as a heading, it's actually, you can point back to it. You can link later to it back to a different part of your document. It's a really, really neat feature. I've got some examples here of Google Docs, and I'm going to show you the newsletter. This is the one that people really oftentimes love. This newsletter is built in Google Docs. And I think a lot of times we think of Google Docs as boring or not very pretty, but you can make your Google Doc really, really pretty. These actually, this is the graphics. Remember I was talking about onlygfx.com. These all came from that. So it's like this watercolory, really neat type of, I've got little borders here, but these are all things that you can, this is done within Google Docs. I've got my citation down here at the bottom. I know it's a little tiny probably to see, but this is a newsletter built in Google Docs. This is my resume, also built in Google Docs. You can see that it's very possible to make pretty Google Docs. There's lots and lots of resources here. I've got a flyer. This is a flyer. I'm gonna actually use the flyer and make it smaller. There you can see the whole thing. That's a flyer that's made in Google Docs. So a lot of times if you want to print something, Google Docs is a great way to go. A hyperdoc is another thing you can do in Google Docs. This would be something that would be almost like a handout for each student, but it's a digital handout. And so you can certainly explore these later. But these are some examples of just pretty Google Docs, really nicely beautiful Google Docs. When you're designing Google Docs, I've got two strategies for you. You want to create structure, and you might want to adjust the working space. Creating structure, tables, secret, invisible, hidden tables create structure. So the newsletter, we looked at that newsletter. I think nope, it's not that one. Let me close the ones that it's not. It's not that one. Process elimination, there it is. This newsletter here, right? This is held up by a giant invisible table. So if I open this, I've got another version where you can see the table. This is what is holding it up. That's what's making the different spaces. That's what's making the different sizes of stuff. That's what's putting things in different places. That's what's keeping it all in its place, is this giant hidden table. So creating structure with a table and then making all the lines invisible is a great way to, use lots of different space within Google Docs, make columns or whatever, without it being visible. So in a table, border lines can be invisible or hidden. If you want it to be hidden, not visible, you set the width to 0. It doesn't matter what the color is. You don't have to make the color white or anything. You've set the width to 0 and they're invisible. And then in a table, you can merge cells to make different size spaces. So here you can see like this one here, I merged all the cells across in this row to make one giant long table, or sorry, one giant long space. So you can, merge and adjust to make different size spaces. You can merge up and down, and you can merge side to side. You can also adjust your working space inside of Google Docs. There's a page setup area of Google Docs, and you can set your default setup for new documents. So for example, I set all of my default margins to 0.5 so that I have more space inside to work with. But Google Docs in the past year released a format called Pageless, and I love Pageless. It's great for stuff that you're not going to print because it just gives you a white space. And as you know, there's no page break as you scroll down. It's just one giant long continuous space. So I've been a Pageless format convert. I see that somebody asked, is Google Docs an alternative to Word? Yes. Google Docs is the Google version of Microsoft Word. The great thing about Google Docs is it's accessible to anybody, anywhere on the planet, whereas Microsoft Word, you have to send them the attachment, you have to print it out. It's Google Docs you can work on with people together in different places in the world. It's a really versatile tool. Going back to page setup, like I said, I love Pageless. Within page setup, you can customize the margins. You can change the paper size. So you can make it legal. You can make it, I think tabloid is the biggest one they offer. You can also change the orientation, whether it's up and down, portrait, or side to side, landscape. And like I said, think about whether you need to print it or not. You know, if I don't need to print it, a lot of times I will make it landscape because that's the shape of a screen. So it, you know, it doesn't always make sense to have it be portrait because they can't see the whole thing. So you kind of think about, be that really purposeful design. And then you can also change the background color of the page in page setup. So the flyer that I showed you, for example, about the coffee spot, the background, the page is purple. And then I made a 1x1 giant table, a 1-cell table, and put all the text and pictures inside. So that's, you can, you know, tables again are kind of like the secret hidden tool within Google Docs. But you can change that page background and then make your table white. And it looks like now you've got a border around your page. Some other tips and tricks, use headers and footers. The header space at the top can be kind of lost space sometimes because it's there. I like it because I can have a different header on page 1 than all the rest of them. So a lot of times I'll use headers. If you've ever looked at a district document and seen like the district logo with like a line, that's a header up there. You can insert images. That's another great way to make Google Docs more readable or to make it more interesting. Images do make text act weird. So a lot of times, I'm going to go back to my table here. I put these images in their own space because it would be really hard to get them to wrap properly. So I do a lot of I put like an image in its own box in the table when I'm doing stuff in the table. You can actually see that multiple times. That I put that in its own space. That's in its own space. This is in its own space. This one's in its own space. Like I put them in their own box so that they don't affect anything else. I was up here. So images do make wrapped text act weird. There's different wrap options. You can make it, you know, go around. You can make it, you know, square box around. You can make it go on top of or behind. There's lots of wrap options. But like I said, if I'm using a table for structure, I give images their own square in the table, their own box in the table. Oh, sorry. And then the other thing that Google Docs offers is insertable Google Drawings. And so you can insert a Google Drawing as an editable canvas. So for the example, I had a HyperDoc, which is that digital handout for each student. If you look through that, you'll see that there's some Google Drawings in there that anybody who can edit the document can double click and edit the drawing. And that's great for like kids to like drag stuff, you know, to like classify. I think it has you classify shapes in that particular example that I linked there. But it's really perfect for activities and kind of manipulative space for students. Okay, that was a lot. I'm going to bring us back to that third norm. Take what you can today, come back for more later. So if you're feeling, you know, like, whoa, I only got one thing and it was tables, that's great. That's a great thing to walk away from this with. You're gonna have 10 minutes now to kind of play and you know, do some different things. If you would like an open-ended prompt, your job is to make a pretty doc. Go have at it, have fun, do what you need to do. If you're like, I need some instructions, I've got guided here where you're going to just follow these steps to do some different things. If you're new to Docs, or if you're like, I actually would just like to process and think some more, you're welcome to check out some of these resources. I do have a getting started resource if you've never used Google Docs before. That is here. I've also got my the accessibility resources. You can go back and look and see, learn about meaningful links, learn about some of the other stuff. And then the last one I have is designing with Docs. This is a resource I created for this training, and it goes through what are some best practices in Docs? How do you do the tables with merging and that kind of stuff? How do you insert images and drawings? It's really like that how-to piece. So if you're like, I got tables, but I don't know what to do with tables, then this will be your space to do that designing with Docs resource. So I'm going to put 10 minutes on the timer. I'm going to set my timer. Sorry, that's very beepy. Okay, so you got 10 minutes. I'm going to answer some questions in the chat while you have your 10 minutes. Okay, so go, 10 minutes.
Jessica, for some of those questions that are in the chat, if perhaps you could point individuals to which of the link resources they would find the answer, that might be helpful.
Yeah, I can do that.
I'm also going to ask if everyone would refrain from using the Q&A, and then we can keep all of our questions in the chat. I don't know if Jessica can disable the Q&A, but otherwise we have to have too many screen things open on our screens, and it's really hard to manage and access the resources you might need. So if you've just put a question into the Q&A, please just copy and paste it into the chat, and Jessica and I will get there.
I'm seeing lots of questions on how to do the tables thing. So I think I'm going to demonstrate how to do tables. If you are rocking on your own thing, keep going. You don't need to come back and join. You've still got 6 minutes and 20 seconds. But I'm going to, for anybody who's like, the tables are so cool, how do I do it? I'm going to demonstrate. I think that will be helpful. So I'm just going to create a new doc. I don't know if you know this, you can type doc.new into your address bar and that will create a new document. So there we go, we got a new document. I often start with a 5x5 table, and I can always add more columns or rows, but I find that 5x5 is a pretty good number for me. So I'm just going to, I just click on insert, I'm going to go down to table, and then I'm going to go over 5 and down to 5. So you can see that it says 5x5, and if I click, now it made it a 5x5 table. Make this fit here a little better. I often start my table. I leave the lines on. Making the lines invisible is the very last step I do, because otherwise I can't see where my table is. So if usually I do a title is the very first thing. My top row is almost always a title. So I just selected all of those. I'm going to right click. So that's the right key on your mouse. If you're on like a laptop, it's a 2-finger tap. You tap it once, that's a right click. So I right clicked, and then if I scroll down, I see merge cells. That's merging a cell. So when I clicked merge cells, now it's one giant cell. So I can say this is my title. I can put an image in here. So for example, in the newsletter, I stuck a giant image inside and made that, my image had text on it. I made that a title. Then I start kind of figuring out, what do I want this document to look like? Maybe I want to do 2 columns. And so I oftentimes like to have a visual line between my columns more than just like a space. So I'm going to go back here to the newsletter, and you can see, I've got essentially 2 columns here, and I've got these dots, this dot border in the middle. So I'm going to do a similar thing where I'm going to make this one's a column. So I'm merging, and these are column. This is a column. So I'm going to merge, and then I can drag this and make this little guy in the middle super skinny. Right? And then I'm going to put some content here. So I'm going to drag this down. And now I've got this little skinny space where I can insert an image to be my my border. You can also insert special characters. So I might do special characters. I'm going to do a star. Let me find a star. Here's a star. Okay. And then I can just copy and paste my star over and over and over again. I'm just copying and pasting the same star. And because it's so skinny, it puts it on top. And there's my little star border in the middle. Okay. So then this might be, content A. And this might over here might be, content B, right? Great. Now down below, sometimes I like to do where I've got like a heading kind of on one side, and then I put stuff next to it. So maybe I will merge these 4 together, and I might put bullet points here. Bullet points are pretty great. So I might say, step 1, step 2, or there might be resources. Maybe these are resources. I've got resource 1 and resource 2. And I just kind of keep going and merging spaces until I get the thing the way that I want. You'll notice that these 2 down here don't have to be the same width. So I can, drag this way over, and sometimes you just have to kind of, play a little bit until you get it to the way you want it, right? But I can make this smaller than this one is. These 2 don't have to be the same size. And so I just kind of like adjust and drag and whatnot. And maybe I decide, oh shoot, I need another column because I want to do 3 and 3, right? So it's just kind of a lot of, right clicking, insert column to the right. There's another column. And now I go through and I merge again, merge cells, right? I just kind of go through and I keep adjusting and adding as I need to. I can add rows below, all sorts of things. If I have a row I don't need, I can delete it. It's kind of really, I just kind of play with it. And then when I'm all done and I have it the way I like it, then I select everything inside the table, the whole table. There's this little kind of gray arrow. It's really small. I know it's hard to see. There's this little gray arrow in the corner. If I click on it, I can choose all the borders at once. So I can edit all of the borders at the same time. I'm going to say make those 0. And now my table is invisible. If I want my table back, I can undo at this point since I haven't done anything else, or I can select the whole thing again, that little arrow, choose all the lines, and then I can, maybe make it back to 1 so I can see them again.
Jessica, would you demonstrate inserting an image to one of those boxes?
Yeah, let's put an image at the top. So a little smaller here. When I insert an image, I like to go to the insert menu and I click on insert, and then image is the first one. And I have lots of options. You can upload an image you have saved on your computer. You can actually search the web right inside of Google Docs. This is actually really great for kids because it keeps them all inside Google Docs. They don't get distracted anywhere else. I can insert a photo from Drive. Teachers and staff, basically anyone who's not a student has access to Google Photos. So you might have photos in there that you've saved there. Students don't have Google Photos. You can do it by URL. So if you know like the address of a photo, you can do it that way, or you can take a picture. If you have a device like a Chromebook or a laptop that's got a camera on it, you can take a picture. I'm going to search the web and I'm just going to call it banner. Let's see if we can find a banner here. Here's some different banner images. Oh, I kind of like these flowers. I'll put the flowers in. All right, insert. And so I just chose an image and I inserted it. And then I can make this smaller or bigger. Oh, there's my timer. I've got some different wrapping options here. When I'm doing tables, I leave it as inline because if you do you can see like when I change that, all of a sudden all my table moved. So I leave it as inline in a table, but you've got some other wrapping options if you wanted to use it. So, but now I've got this nice flower border right there. Okay, that is 10 minutes. I know there are lots of questions I did not yet answer. I am going to, and maybe what's a good teacher move is I'm going to challenge you to be okay with not knowing all the answers right now. You are welcome to submit help desk tickets. I've received lots of questions afterwards as people went on and started designing their own docs. I received lots of questions last year via help desk tickets of like, I remember you talked about this, but I don't remember what it was. That's that third norm, right? Come back for more later. So I'm just gonna ask you to just be a little bit patient with not knowing the answer to your question right now and just holding on to it. It'll be okay. All right, we're going on. I do want to give you that 5-minute break though. So please take a 5-minute break. I'm gonna set my timer. Move, walk. If you want to keep playing with your document, that's also fine. It's up to you. Okay. So 5 minutes, go. Okay. Come on back. If you walked away, come back, come back. We're gonna move on. Come on back. I demonstrated a quick thing if you were, I know it was a break, so I'm glad if you walked away, I'm very glad. Good job having boundaries. I did demonstrate a thing really quick. Someone asked, how do you get text on top of something? And the secret is to use a drawing. So in my drawing, I put the watercolor in the back, and then I've got my text on top. And that's how I made this cool banner. So that's in case you came back, you're like, wait, where did that come from? I silently demonstrated it during break. Okay. Google Sheets. We're going to talk about the strengths of Google Sheets. I've got some examples. I'm really hoping to change some minds today. It's okay if it's not your favorite tool, but I'm hoping that it becomes maybe not your least favorite, or maybe that you know, it's harder for you to pick a favorite maybe. I've got some strategies and tips. And again, you'll have that 10 minutes to practice and explore. I'll probably end up demonstrating some things during that time as well. Oh, I guess also I'm going to go back for a second. I should say part of that third norm, coming back for more later, this session is being recorded. You can come back. I think by the end of the day, all the recordings get posted. You can come back tonight, tomorrow, next week. If you've got, I know in all of your spare time in this next few weeks, all of your spare time, but it'll be available for a long time. You can come back and get it, you know, in September when things quiet down. So yes, it is being recorded. We're recording right now. Come back and see it. There's no need to feel like you've got to, again, master everything. Take what you can today, come back for more later. I probably should add be okay not knowing. All right, strengths of Google Sheets. A spreadsheet is just a really big table. That's all it is. I think for a long time, especially when I was a teacher, I was very hesitant to use a spreadsheet. I really didn't touch spreadsheets. I didn't understand them, didn't know what they were for. If I wasn't doing anything with data, I didn't do a spreadsheet. But a spreadsheet is just a really big table. You can merge cells. You can put images inside of it. You can put text inside of it. It's really, really great. And what's also great about Sheets is you're not limited to existing printing dimensions. So Google Docs, you've got pageless and you've got, you know, different sizes of paper, but Sheets can be as wide as you want it to be. It can be as long as you want it to be. Those probably aren't great design decisions, but you know, you've got more flexibility. Sheets also offers tabs along the bottom. Google Docs doesn't. You've just got one big long space, right? So with Sheets, you can almost like have like separate pages, but in a really visible way that can make it really easy for students or other people using the thing to navigate it. You can also link to specific cells in a spreadsheet. So, you know, for example, maybe your first tab is instructions, and then each one of the things links to somewhere else on a different tab in your spreadsheet, but you can link to a specific place on a spreadsheet, which is cool. And then you can also use formulas to make your spreadsheet more responsive and interactive. So that's a really neat it's kind of like an extra layer on top. Once you feel real good about your, I'm going to close some things here. Once you feel, you know, good about tables and that kind of stuff, then you'll be ready for formulas. So let me show you some examples. Here is that same, I'm going to zoom out. Let me go smaller. Here's that same newsletter in Google Sheets. So I've got the same stuff. You can see it looks, you know, a little bit, it maybe doesn't look quite as smooth as the Google Docs. And that's certainly something that, you know, is a design choice. If you're like, no, I don't like the way that looks, that's okay. But if you see down here, this is March. I've also got April. And so April, you could have the next one here. I was a little bit lazy and didn't actually make a new April one, but you can add a tab every single month. There might be May, right? I can, you know, change the tab color in the bottom, and I can move old months to the end. And so you can really, the fact you've got like the tabs, you can separate out, in this case, newsletters by different months or by different weeks or whatever. So that the tabs feature is sometimes nice, even if it doesn't maybe look as smooth as Google Docs does, the tabs are, can be really great. I've got a drag and drop activity. This is an example where you can have, this is something students could do where they, you know, drag, you know, is shirt an air or sound. I'm not a phonics teacher, but, you know, you can, you know, so they can drag, you know, the shirt can get dragged over to, you know, wherever it belongs, right? I'm going to undo it, put it back, but drag and drop can happen, but you can see these are just pictures inside of the thing and it's a table and you drag it over. So that can be really nice for interactive work with students. I've created scavenger hunts inside of Google Sheets. This is actually a sheet that is meant to teach about Google Sheets. It's a little bit meta here. And so in this one, if I scroll down a little bit, it's got a total box. And as you check stuff off, the total changes. Now it says 1 and it says great first step. It's very encouraging. And then if I check another one, it says 2 and it says don't give up now. You know, all about the support, right? I check another one, there's 3. looks like you're getting the hang of this. So like, as you check things off, it's keeping track of counting. And then I told it via a formula, I told it that when this box says 3, say this thing. So if it's 4, says you finished a third of them already. Look at that, glass a third full kind of people here. And so that's a formula that's doing that interactive piece, that as more get checked, high five. I'm going to uncheck these and put it back, but you get the idea that it's more responsive, and docs and slides will not do that. That is something that only Sheets will do, with that kind of responsive space to it. I've created dashboards. This is a bit more of like a data type of thing, that you can have dashboards. And this pretty heavily does rely on formulas. So just kind of an FYI that when you are working with data, once you've strengthened your Sheets chops a little bit, there's a lot of formulas you can use to make dashboards. So this is a dleaf time log for a fictitious person. And then I can choose a different fictitious person. You can see the stuff changes. And so that's, I guess I only have 2 people here, but you can see that it's changing different things for the 2 different people. And so that's that more responsive piece is only possible in Google Sheets. And this specifically works with data. And then if there's a word search, and this tool is created by Alice Keeler. Alice Keeler has a lot of really great spreadsheet things, but you can create a word search inside of Google Sheets, and students can, select to show where the word is and change the background color. They can make a border around, or they can change the font color as they find the different things. So it's a really neat thing, and it has, she helps you. So you build the word list, and then you run the tool and it makes the puzzle. So this is a template that you can get from Alice Keeler. Okay. So that's kind of some things, kind of almost kind of magical things you can do with Sheets. So some strategies for design. The first thing, again, is to remember that Sheets is just a table. Merge stuff. You can merge anything that's touching, you can merge. So I can merge 2 things that share a side, or 2 things that share a top and bottom. You can't merge diagonally, but side to side, top and bottom, you can merge. Rows and columns can be resized, just like in docs. You drag it to make it bigger, you drag it to make it smaller. You can adjust different sizes of things to make different size spaces. You can insert images into cells or on top of cells. That's kind of another nice feature, is that in Google Docs, I like to put my image inside of a box. And I often do the same thing in Sheets, that I put it inside its own cell, but you can put it on top, that it sits on top of lots of cells. And then cells can be dragged to different rows or columns. So kind of like that drag and drop activity where, I held down on the shirt and I dragged it over to where it belonged. You can do that with anything inside of Google Sheets. Any cell can be dragged to a different cell. And then another design tip strategy is that you can adjust the Sheets theme. So by default, there's a standard Google sheet palette. It's got blue, red, yellow, green, orange, and purple, and like a tealy aqua color on it. Or sorry, there's no purple. Blue, red, yellow, green, orange, and then like a tealy aqua color. That's the default. I like those colors. I use those a lot. They're kind of just nice standard. They're the Google colors, but you can change it to anything. You can make it any theme. So thinking back about those like palettes and your color palette, you can set the theme inside of Sheets, and then it will, when you're picking your font color and that kind of stuff, those colors are suggested first because of the theme. There are some preset themes. I want to say there's like maybe 16 different preset themes inside of Sheets as well. You can just use one of their palettes, or you can create your own. And then you can set a default font. So the default, if you don't change it, the default is Arial. That's got 6 other options that you can change to be the default font. I tend to leave the default font alone and just adjust the font as I go, because I usually don't want one of the 6 anyway. So that's just kind of a thing to know, that you can set the default font, but you only have 6 options, and I usually don't like any of them. So I tend to just edit the font as I go. Some other tips and tricks. We talked about the tabs at the bottom. Those can be, I showed an example. It was like a newsletter for each space. I think Allison is right. I think the limit is you can have up to 200 tabs, which is a lot of tabs. I I would argue there might be too many tabs if I'm going to be really honest, because it's hard to find, like, what if you need tab 154? That would be really hard. So I would think, carefully about, can I maybe delete some of these tabs when I don't need them anymore? But you could have different tabs that can be for different, like, maybe students each have their own tab. Maybe it's for different months of a newsletter, whatever, different steps of a process or an activity. You can put multiple hyperlinks in the same cell. It used to be like maybe 2 years ago where you could only put one link in a cell, and now you can put as many as you want. So you can link lots of different things inside the same cell. Data validation is how you make a dropdown. So I'm going to click over, where is it? It's going to be one of these. There it is. Okay. This dropdown where it gave me the 2 people to choose from, that is, I did that with data validation. And that's inside of, where is it? Under data? It's under data. So under data, you can choose data validation and you can list the things you want in the dropdown, which can be really great for interactive activities for students. Oh, it says right there, find it under the data menu. This is also really good for standardizing answers that, they have to pick something that's inside the cell. More advanced is the formulas. I will say that the formulas aren't necessarily hard. They're just, you have to be really willing to problem solve, because a lot of times, even when I write a formula for the first time, it doesn't always work. So the more you write the same formula, the better you get at it. But it's a lot of times you will get an error at first. That's just normal. Failing is a part of learning. But I use COUNTIF and VLOOKUP a lot. And you're welcome to copy that template to kind of see it. If I go, great. All of my things actually are hidden down here. I hid some things. So if I scroll a little bit, maybe a little more, one more, there we go. Here are all of the things that I told it to do. So in this cell, there's this formula, a little bigger, where it says VLOOKUP, and it says, basically this formula says, whatever number is here, find it in this column, and then put this thing here. So 0, it says, let's see what you can do, is the one that goes with 0. When it was 1, the thing that goes with it is great first step. And so it's in here, this formula is telling it to look at all of these options, and I just hid these at the bottom. So you can right click and hide the rows, and now they look like they're not there. So yeah, that's the formulas, like I said, are a little more advanced, but it's a great way to make it more interactive when you're ready to do that stuff. And I do have a resource on how to do formulas. So if you're like, I'm ready, I have a resource. Okay, we're ready for work time. I'm setting my timer. Again, I've got a guided, like if you like, I need some steps, tell me what to do, what to work on. I've got guided. I've also got open-ended. If you don't want steps, you want to just play, make a creative spreadsheet, go. If you're like, I've never used Sheets before, or I don't really know what to do in Sheets, my very first resource here is the basics from Google's Teacher Center. So it's meant for teachers, it's meant for people who work in education. And it's like starting with Sheets, day 1, here's how to use Sheets. You can go back and look at those accessibility resources again if you didn't look at those last time and are still interested. Here is my resource about formulas in Sheets. It breaks, let me open it up and remind myself. Yeah, so it tells you what the function is, what it does, and then these are resources on how to make that. It's like the how-to of how to write that formula. And then I've got some other tricks at the bottom, but that's formulas. You're welcome to look at formulas. And then you remember how I had that resource for docs that was like, use invisible tables, here's how. Use colors, here's how. I've got the same thing for Sheets. So it's this resource about, why does design matter? How do you insert images? How do you do some formulas? It's got some great resources inside of there. So feel free to check out that Designing with Sheets. I am also going to spend this time looking through the chat, and I'll probably demonstrate a few things. So you're also welcome to just listen. So choose your adventure, play, try some things out yourself, read some resources, or listen to me, your choice. 10 minutes on the clock. Oh, I can't count. Okay, great, go. Can you import a doc or a Google Sheet into a Google Slide? No, you can take a picture of it though. I've done that before. A Google Sheet, you can copy this, like the thing, and insert it as a table into Google Slides, but you can't put like the sheet with the tabs and everything in there into Google Slides. Somebody asked what happens when you to the blank cell after you drag the thing somewhere else. I'm going to drag my shirt over here again. You can see it's just, it kind of goes back as if there was nothing there. So in this case, it was a merged thing. And so it kind of goes back to just being empty, but there's nothing in either of these two things. And if I drag the shirt back, it puts it right back in. If I drag it on top of something that already exists, it does remove that thing. So you can see that I put it on top of the hammer, and even though I moved it away, the hammer is gone. It doesn't layer stuff, it replaces. So that's just kind of a good FYI that it's it maybe isn't perfect, and that might be something, you know, if you move a piece, you got to put it right back, or, you know, if you're not sure, leave it over here is your best guess, and then you can always move it later. But if you stack things, it will remove the bottom thing, it'll replace it. So just a good FYI. I apologize if you're trying to watch an instructional video while I also talk. I'm so sorry. Somebody wanted to know how to create a new spreadsheet. You could, just like Docs, you can type sheet.new right into your bar and press enter, and it creates a new spreadsheet. You can also do it in Google Drive, or if you go to sheets.google.com, that will show all of your spreadsheets, and you can make a new one there. Someone wanted to talk about the way to add like a banner, or to add color or anything like that. There's a couple different options. I'm just going to make my spreadsheet a little bigger. The font color is the A with an underline. So I can, you know, here's that standard Google theme, the blue, red, yellow, green, orange, aqua. I like it. It's great, simple primary colors. You can edit it. I'm going to choose blue here. And then now all the text I type in here is blue, right? If I want to change the background color of a cell, I'm going to use the paint can. That's the fill color. Right now it's white. So there's actually a bar underneath it, but you can't see it because it's white. So if I click on it, I could make it yellow. Probably not a great design choice, but you can see that it's showing me that it's yellow. I can, you know, make it light purple. I can, you know, do any sort of things. And I can edit as many cells as I want. So I can make, you know, this whole, all of these, I can make them all orange inside. I can do a whole row if I click on the letter, or sorry, a whole column. If I click on the letter of the column, that selects the entire column, and I can make it aqua. And that means that the whole column all the way down is aqua. Same thing with a row. If I click on the number of the row, it selects the entire row, and I can, you know, make it all red, right? Or I can make the text white for all of these. And so now when I type, the text is white. So you can mass edit things. You can also select all of the cells in the table by using this upper corner blank box. When I click on that, everything is selected. So I can be like, nope, make it, just reset it all, put it all back to the way it was before. Someone asked about deleting rows or columns you don't need. So like by default, I think it goes out to Z. I almost never need Z. So I usually select the rows I don't need. So I just clicked on the F, and then I'm going to hold down the shift key and use the arrow key to select. So I'm holding down shift while I push the arrow key to select all of these columns, because I don't need any of these maybe. And then I'm going to right click. Remember, that's 2 fingers once on your touchpad, or the right button on your mouse. Right click, and I'm going to delete these columns. And now I've just got the 5 columns. I can do the same thing with rows. and I can delete all the rows. Now I just have 10 rows and 5 columns. A lot of times when in Google Sheets, I usually do 20 rows. So I'll usually do like a 5 by 10 or 5 by 20. A lot of times the stuff I make in Sheets is longer, not so much wider. But it's kind of up to you. And so you can kind of play with what range you want. Somebody asked about printing sheets. It is kind of hard to print sheets. They aren't really super printable per se. If I choose print, you can see it's actually very small. Let me make it bigger. The only thing it's printing is a few cells because I think there's actually white text in this one, which is why it's selected. So it's really hard to print in sheets. I think there's white text here, if I remember right. I'm gonna make it all blue so I can see. Yeah, there's white text. There's text there. I can select certain cells. So I can say, just print these 4. But printing isn't super easy in sheets. Unfortunately, it tries to help you too much where it's like, oh, you probably only want cells that have stuff in it. These are the 2 cells that have stuff in it. And you're like, no, actually, I wanted all of it. So it's you can kind of play with some of the settings, and it's showing you a preview. This is exactly what will print out at the moment. I can change it to portrait, and now you can see it's like a longer piece of paper. So you're certainly welcome to, when you're printing to put these, whatever it's not really changing because I have such a small thing, but printing is hard in Sheets, admittedly. How to select 10 by 10 cells. To select multiple cells, if you're going to merge them or what are you going to do with it, I just click in the cell and hold down. I'm holding down with my mouse, and then I just move and it's selecting. I can select, whatever size block I want. It does have to be a block. I can't just select one over here. To make everything the same size, if you select all the columns, I can adjust their size altogether. Whatever columns are selected is making them all the same width, whatever width I'm choosing. And same thing with rows, that I can select all my rows and I can make them all, taller at the same time. So if you select an entire row, you can edit just that row. I can make that one row different sizes. But if I want, all the rows to be the same size, I need to select all the rows and then I set the size. So if I set this is the size, now they're all that size. To limit it, I've got 5 seconds. To limit it, you just have to delete columns and rows to get to the size you want. If you don't want anything extra, you just limit that size. Okay, we are on a break again. It's a stretch break. So stand up. If you didn't take a break last time, stand up, at least stretch, move around, bend in half, do a little bit of stretching. Maybe you get a drink of water. I'm gonna drink a little water and take that 5 minutes. It's really good to just move your body a little bit. We've been focused for a long time. We've been together for over an hour already. So yeah, move your body a little bit, and we're gonna come back and do slides. I'm going to answer some more questions in the chat. So you got 5 minutes. Go. Oh, I realized I forgot to set my timer. Let's do one more minute. So sorry. My bad. Go ahead and take one more minute. So if you're away, start working right back, come back. I got a lot of questions answered in the chat, I think. So if you asked a question and then walked away, look at the chat and see if there's an answer for you. Okay. Okay. Google Slides. We're rounding the bases to home base here. All right. Google Slides. We're going to talk about some strengths and examples. We're going to have some strategies and tips again, and you'll have work time to practice. I think we have 25. I think that they didn't leave a break between this session and the closing. I'm pretty sure the closing starts at 3:15. My goal is to get you out of here at 3:10 so you can, move and do other things and clear your brain before the closing. It's gonna be a race to the finish line. Let's put it that way. So I think I've got 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Here we go. Some strengths of slides. A lot of you said that slides was your very favorite. I'm really hoping that today you've gotten a chance to kind of think of maybe the other two as having, it's okay to, the slides is still your favorite. That's okay. But hopefully you've learned some of the things about docs and sheets so that you can feel a little more more confident that maybe sometimes those will be your favorite tool in certain instances. But slides has a lot of benefits. There's a lot of great reasons to use slides. Slides is the absolute easiest by far for manipulating things. So if you've got kids dragging stuff, if you have people doing, matching and sorting, it's possible in Sheets. It's really great in slides. It's definitely the easiest one. You can link to specific slides in a deck. And so a bit of a pro tip here is that students can actually turn in the link that goes to the specific slide. So if you have a deck that all the students are in on, it's a shared deck, everybody's making their own slide in the deck, they can turn the link that goes to their specific slide. So that's really neat. You can, when you link something somewhere else, you can also point to a specific slide in the deck. Slides can be printed to fill a whole page. This actually was my favorite, teacher hack when I was teaching, is that I would always make all of my stuff in Google Slides. If I was making a worksheet, if I was making a quiz, anything like that, I always made it in Google Slides, and then I printed it, because you can set the direction to be portrait instead of landscape, to be up and down instead of side to side, and so you can actually print it to fill the whole page. And I liked being able to move text boxes and images where I wanted them. Versus again, Google Docs is not always great with pictures. It's kind of hard sometimes with pictures because the text gets wonky. There are more viewing options in Google Slide. You can use presentation mode to make it feel more immersive. That's where you've probably seen it before, where when you go to a deck, it just opens the deck as if it's like a slideshow mode. And then layouts can be used as templates. So you've probably used different layouts before, like a title slide, like a title with bullet points. You've probably seen different layouts. You've seen I've used some different layouts in here. You can edit those layouts, first of all, and then those layouts can then be used as templates. So when students add their contribution to a shared all class deck, they can do it that way. And I'll show you exactly what I mean here in Class Yearbook. I'm going to close some of my spreadsheets, get rid of some tabs up here at the top. We don't need all those. Okay, start fresh. So the Class Yearbook is my first example. And this is an example of where students could add their own slide using a template. So to add a new slide to a deck, you've got this plus button. But if I click the down arrow, sorry, that's probably a little tiny, let me make that bigger. There's this plus button. If I click the down arrow next to it, I can look at all the different options for slides I can add. And so these are basically templates that I've added that students can choose, the background. Maybe they want to do flames, right? They can do flowers, they can pick, oh, I love blue, they can, pick, maybe I want the picture frame. So it looks like, it's a frame around my thing. That dropdown gives them different options, but it's all the same. Here's paint, right? Which slide number is this? I'm on slide 26. And so this gives a lot of it's the same thing on every single one of them. It's just got a different border around it. So they can pick which one they want to use, but it's still asking for the same stuff. It's still the same deck. And I just used different layouts to be able to choose which that students could again pick different colors or looks to it. So that's the class yearbook example. Interactive notebooks are really great. They've gotten really popular over the past few years. I'm going to do a little trick here where I can just look at it. Interactive notebooks. This is actually a template from Ditch That Textbook, which is an educational, I think his name is Matt, but I don't know the rest of his name. Matt Miller, it's right there. I read it. Matt Miller uses this, this is his template, but it's got lots of great pieces as part of an interactive notebook that you can have students make a notebook or a journal. We've had teachers in some of our professional learning instances, we have teachers do journals inside of Google Slides. So it's good for all sorts of learning, whatever kind of learning is happening, no matter if they're big or small. There's lots of, these are just different templates that he's created inside of this notebook. So that's the notebook. And then the other examples I have here are 1-by-1 activities. And 1-by-1 activities are great for formative assessment. It's a deck that every student is in the same deck. They each get their own slide, but all the slides are identical. And so you can kind of use it to check in on students and see how they're doing. So let me show you with graphing. This is one for math. So you would assign students a number. They would go to the number of that slide. So, if I'm student number, I'm gonna go down here. If I'm student number 8, right, I go to slide number 8. And then, the teacher might give me an equation to graph. This is going to show my math knowledge, I suppose. So let me drag my arrow over here. Let's say the teacher says y equals x plus 2. Okay, y equals x plus 2. So I know that's going to be on the 2, and it's a slope of 1. My math teacher would be so proud right now. Look at me knowing stuff. There. Okay, so there's y equals x plus 2. There's some dots here. I can say, graph put your dot on, -6, 3, right? So they can drag their dot and put it, on -6, 3. And so you as the teacher then can, if all the students are doing this at the same time in the same deck, you can kind of scroll through and be like, oh, I see that, maybe student 12 doesn't quite have it yet, or student 8 is really close. You can kind of get a good idea. It's really great for formative assessment. Students can see each other's slides, which is, again, why it's good for formative assessment and not for summative, because they can see each other's. Sometimes that's nice, because then you can have students, if you get stuck, kind of, look around and see if you can get an idea from someone else. But they can see each other's slides, and they can edit each other's slides. The good news is that slides, like all tools, have version history, so you can see exactly what they did. So that's a 1-by-1 activity. I've got another example here, world language, or like ELL, ELD. I actually use this in the classroom. We did a unit on school supply vocabulary and locations. And so I would tell them, like the backpack is on the table. And so they would take, the backpack and they put it on the table, right? And I can kind of go through and see like, oh, this person's got the backpack under the chair. Maybe I need to check with them. Well, this one's got the backpack by the window. That's not on the table. I can kind of see what they're doing. The laptop is by the door, next to the door, right? The pencil is on top of the clock, whatever, like you can. And so basically this background doesn't move, but the items are on top and the items can move. The book is under the desk, right? So those are, that's an activity that I actually personally done with students, but it's really nice to be able to, kind of get it at a glance, oh, this student has the telephone under the window. I definitely said the telephone should be on top of the chair. So you can kind of, check in and see like, oh, I might need to review certain things, or I'm seeing actually nobody's got the telephone on top of the chair. We better review maybe what chair is or something like that. So that's an example of 1-by-1. Again, all kids in the same deck, listening to usually a verbal prompt from a teacher. And then you're monitoring, looking through the slides to see how things are going. Great for formative assessment. So I've got some different examples. I've got math, science, world language or ELD, and one for art or just like general vocabulary words. So those are some examples as well. Some strategies. You can think of a slide as a canvas. It's wide open. You know, we thought of spreadsheets as a giant table. Think of a slide as a canvas. It's great for moving and layering stuff. You saw that like I'm going to go back to here to my one by one, that, you know, like the images can sit right on top. It's so easy to drag them. It's really nice for that piece. It's great for cursor-based stuff. So again, drag and drop. There is a scribble tool inside of Google Slides that students can circle stuff. It's hidden kind of though inside the line button. So you have to teach kids where it is, or in a true golden teacher move, challenge them to see if they can find the scribble tool. That's always a great way. If you don't remember where it is, who can find it? Who can find where the scribble tool is? You can set a custom background image to any slide. So I'm going to again go back to that classroom. This picture on the back, so actually if I drag everything down, the classroom space, you know, with the door and the table and everything, that is an image that's just in the background of all of these slides. That background image is set. It doesn't move. They can't drag those pieces. They can't move the clock above the chalkboard, right? So it's just that's a background image. And so you can kind of have fun with that and make the background image any image. I did the same thing in the math. The coordinate plane in the back is the background image. The only things you can move are the arrows and the dots. The coordinate plane is stuck. Let's see. Yep. Okay. You can take a screenshot of a PDF. That's great for like annotating or marking up a text. Students can use, you know, colored boxes to act like a highlighter. And then you've got that scribble tool. They can circle and underline and all sorts of stuff. There is a theme builder in Google Slides. It used to be called Master Slide. They've renamed it and they've made it a little bit of a better tool anyway. So it kind of got like a rebranding as well as like it's got some better features to it. It's called Theme Builder. You can set your deck's theme colors. And so that's going to be like the default color for text and that kind of stuff. You can adjust and remove and create slide layouts. So you remember that yearbook where they had all the different options of what their border would be, but it was all the same questions and prompts. That's you can create layouts to use in that way. You can set a default font and font style. So you can kind of set up like what, you know, maybe the title tends to be blue and the text below tends to be dark green, you know, whatever your color palette is. And then it's really great when you're in the theme builder to make sure that you're using title and text placeholders. Title layouts are actually really important. They do some kind of hidden secret things that we may not realize. So for example, in this deck, when I click on the number over here, some of these slides have names, right? Slide 5, it says agenda. Slide 6, it says warm opener. Slide 7 says our norms for today. Slide 4 doesn't say anything. This text is fed by the titles. And so I really try to put titles on all of my things so it's easy to navigate between different slides. So titles are really, really, really great. Sorry. So when you're creating formats, you'll see when you're creating layouts in that theme builder, you'll see there's place to insert a title placeholder. It's always good to have at least one title placeholder on your slide. And then even if it's small, a lot of times I'll put it small and up in the corner if I've got something big on the rest of the slide, an image. But that title is great for that name of navigation. Someone asked how I got to that list of titles. I'm currently in presentation mode, right? So I'm showing my deck as like a slideshow. And when you're doing that, the number of the slide, we're currently on slide 27. When I click on that number, it shows all the slides I can go to. So I could skip back to, if we needed to go back and talk to strategies for design and docs, I could. But yeah, that's titles are just really good for making slides easier to navigate. And screen readers use titles. So if you ever have a student who needs a screen reader or have someone in the population you're serving needs a screen reader, screen readers also look at titles on slides. Okay, some other tips and tricks. You can link to specific slides in a deck, like I said. When you're linking something, there's actually in slides, it actually suggests that other slides in this presentation. You can change the URL to set the students' viewing experience. So most of the time, the URL of the slide deck, so that's that thing up here, in the address bar. Most of the time it ends in edit. That's what we're used to seeing, is that it ends in edit. That is editing view. It shows toolbars, all sorts of stuff. You can replace that with template/preview. If you saw any of my templates where it had like a use template button, that's the template preview view. I like to use preview. That's this presentation mode. I'm actually looking at my deck right now, where I took off the word edit and I added the word preview. I don't know, it might be a little small. I'm sorry if you can't see, but right up here, come on, work with me, right up here. I took out the word edit and I just replaced it with the word preview, and that displays my deck. I've still got my tabs and my bookmarks, so I like that preview for looking at slides if I don't need to edit it. If you need to edit it, you'll have to have the editing view. And then if you're like, I know all those more, there is you can take the presentation mode and take away this bar, this gray bar that lives at the bottom. You can do it this way, and that will remove that bar, which makes a really immersive view of slides. It's good to lock the background image. Again, I do that when I'm setting up a new layout. I create the background image in that new layout, and that locks it in. That's great for, again, maps, charts, diagrams, coordinate planes, anything you don't want the kids moving around. You can also save the background in drawings as an image and upload it as the background for a slide. So if I'm, if I want to type something up, like I want to write, type up a text and have that be the background image, I can do that in drawings and upload it. And then this is a bit of an advanced feature. You can prevent the auto advancing feature. So like if I click anywhere on this slide, it goes to the next one, right? If I click anywhere, it automatically goes to the next one. Sometimes that's a problem. To prevent that, you can, this is like a pro user tip here. You can put a transparent, like a blank empty rectangle inside on the slide that covers the whole slide. And then set that rectangle's link to the same current slide. And that means when they click on that link, it just brings them to the same slides. They don't see anything happening. That's a super user pro tip. That might be something for you to come back for later. All right. I'm gonna shorten us to 5 minutes because I want us to get out early. So 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes to make a pretty deck. I've got some options, things you can do. Same resources as before. Getting started. If you're brand new to slides, that's a great place to go. You can review those accessibility resources if you haven't yet, and you feel good about slides. And then I've got that same resource, but focus on slides this time. So like some how-to stuff, how to customize the theme, that theme builder, all those resources are inside that Designing with Slides resource. So I am going to set the timer this time though, so I don't lose track of time. 5 minutes, and I'm sorry it's not 10, 5 minutes, and then we'll be back together. I'll answer questions in the chat while you're working. 5 minutes, go. I know I just stopped talking. I've seen several of the same questions, so I'm just going to demonstrate it. Adding music to your slide. So if you're curious about that, stick with me. Otherwise, keep doing your own thing. You still got 4 minutes and 19 seconds. So slide.new, we'll make a new Google slide deck, just like sheet.new and doc.new. So slide.new, there's my new slide deck. I usually close this sidebar right away. I don't need it. Under the insert menu is where you'll find all the stuff you can insert. Audio is where you can do music or spoken stuff, any sort of audio track. So I've seen teachers do like having kids narrate something or like a verbal explanation. So audio, you click that, and then you have to have audio somewhere, and it's got to be in your drive. So you have to have, like an audio file, like an MP3 of a recording of something, whether it's music, whatever it is, make sure it's in your drive. I can go under shared with me, and I think there's some other stuff in here. Yeah, so here's some other things, other musics or other sound files that other people have put on and have shared with me. But yeah, it has to be, I think MP3 is the preferred file thing. But yeah, like I said, it can be music, it can be someone talking, it can be, whatever, any sort of audio. So I'm gonna click, but I guess I'll pick one here. I'll do this one. And it's gonna put a little speaker. Let me make it bigger. Let me make it bigger. There. So that's a giant speaker, but it would be a little speaker in the corner. And then you've got some options. I can choose how loud it is. So maybe for music, you'd want to make it a little bit quieter. You can have it start playing when you click on it, or when you get to that slide, automatically it'll play it. The stop on slide change is usually good, but it might depend. If you're doing music and you want to play like as you go through multiple things, you might uncheck that box. It's kind of up to you. Loop the audio, whatever, kind of whatever makes sense for you. And then you can kind of, these are more about like the icon itself. So I can, change the drop shadow and make it red. And now it's got like a red glow to it. But you can largely ignore a lot of those. The audio playback is the important settings you'll want to adjust. But all sorts of media can be inserted into slides from that insert menu. Tables, charts, diagrams, word art is pretty cool. So I can say, like Ms. Peterson, cool. And there's a giant Ms. Peterson. Wow, so big, so big. And I can change its colors. Maybe I'll make it blue, and the line on the outside is going to be orange. And maybe I make the line really big, and I can even make it dotted. There it is, all dotted. Videos work as well. You can insert videos. So lots of multimedia can go into slides. You've got 1.5 minutes to play. I'm sorry it was short. Okay. The timer is going to go off here. Somebody asked about the invisible rectangle. The invisible rectangle, so actually this will work fine because I've got some, I'm going to change this to a blank just to get less stuff on it. Okay, so I've got a couple things on here. And in a slideshow, if I had another slide really quick, you make something like this one blue so we can tell it's different. Okay, so here I've got 2 slides, right? And in a normal slideshow, I would click, actually, I don't know if you can see my slides. In a normal slideshow, I would, if I click anywhere on this slide besides the audio thing, it's going to go to the next slide. And sometimes you don't want that. So if I take a rectangle, so I'm doing shapes, I'm doing a rectangle, I make it the size of the slide, it's all gray. That's okay because I kind of like that I can see it right now. And then I want to put the audio thing. Where does the audio thing? There it is. Excuse me. I want to put the audio thing on top. So I'm going to right click and bring to front. So that's on top. Great. And I've got my gray rectangle. The gray rectangle, I'm going to add a link to it. So I just right clicked and I'm choosing link. And then, oh, it's so small. Let me see. Maybe I can zoom out here. Okay. If I click on link, it's suggesting some links to me. I'm sorry, I can't move it very well. Let me try. All right, how about now? If I click up here, link. So I've got 2 slides I can actually link it to. I'm going to link it to slide 1 because that's the slide that it's currently on. So I'm going to say slide 1, and then I'm going to make it invisible by making it transparent. And I'm going to take away the line. The line is also transparent. Great. So now when I go into present, or I think it's preview. When I go into preview, if I click anywhere but the audio thing, it's not going anywhere, right? It's not doing anything. It's not going anywhere. And I click that audio still, but this other rectangle isn't going to advance. So that's the invisible rectangle. Okay. Somebody asked about like slides, like going through stuff on their own. You can do that through publishing. So go way back. I clicked a bunch of times. I think it's under file, under share. I can publish to web and then I can auto advance. Okay, it's 3:14. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you there's a few more resources. You can find all of these resources and more at sfusd.edu/Google. You can also, like I said, review this slide deck anytime. The recording will be up later today. Come on back and pick up more stuff. Please take a moment to fill out our feedback form. This is my second year doing this session. And so I'd love to hear, what was great, what was, maybe not so great, what you would have liked more time on. It is a lot of stuff for not a lot of time. So, that third norm is really important. Come back for more later. But please take a moment and fill out that feedback form and let me know. Yes, the slide deck is available throughout the year. It's not going anywhere. It's going to stay there. And you can also watch the recording. That'll be available for, I would guess, at least 6 months. The recording will be available for at least 6 months. And after that, we'll probably just move it somewhere else so you can still get to it. To view the recording, you can come back to the Zoom events lobby, like how you started Digital District Day today. You can come on back and you'll find all the recordings in there. Right now, it is the closing. So feel free to go and hop over to the closing. It was really nice to see all of you today. And thanks so much for joining my session. I hope you got at least one new thing. That's the goal. One new thing, maybe 17 new things. Thanks, everybody.